Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Ever wondered what happens when a Zoomer who grew up on the Clone Wars,
a millennial Anakin defender,
and a grumpy old Gen Xer walk into a cantina to talk Star Wars?
Then we've got the podcast for you.
Star Wars Generations is a place for fans of all backgrounds to come together, talk about why we love the franchise, and what we can learn from each other.
With so much new Star Wars content coming out, we take a deep dive into all of it. We talk stories and characters, what we learn about the Force and the Empire, Republics old and new, and how each story adds to the larger picture.
Besides episode-by-episode coverage of the new shows, we've been going back to watch the movies in release order. We talk about Star Wars novels and video games, along with fan content and cosplay.
And with each episode, we're just starting the conversation, and we hope you jump in. We'll read your feedback, answer your questions. We've even had full episodes dedicated to questions raised by listeners like you.
You can find us under Star Wars Generations on your favorite podcast app or by going to theethicalpanda.com. May the Force be with you.
Now this is podcasting.
Hey there, true believers. Andy Nelson here from the Marvel Movie Minute podcast with the rest of the team.
Pete Wright, Kyle Olson,
Rob Cabasco,
And Matthew Fox.
This is the podcast where we dissect the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time, exploring every detail of this epic superhero franchise.
In our season looking at Iron Man 3, we're going to mix things up a bit.
That's right, Rob and I are your guides, but instead of our usual minute-by-minute format, we dive into 5 minutes of the film in each weekly episode.
It's a totally new approach, but one that still allows us to explore all the depth and detail that makes these movies so special, even if Iron Man 3 isn't all that special.
Hold on, that's where you're wrong. Extremist, Shane Black.
Yeah, would you like to look at the Mandarin and Maya Hansen? Mm-hmm.
So whether you're a die-hard Marvel fan or just love deep dives into movies, there's something for everyone on Marvel Movie Minute.
Suit up and join us on this epic audio adventure. You can find us at truestory.fm or by searching Marvel Movie Minute on your favorite podcatcher.
Because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, every minute is packed with excitement.
Enough said.
Oh, there you are. I was hoping you'd make it. Come in, sit down. Welcome to the Story Well. If you've found your way here, then here is where you belong. And joining us at the table is improver, performer, and co-director of the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in Mesa, Arizona, Mr. Dorian Lenz.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you could come along. I've had your lovely wife on. We got to make up a story together, so I thought, hey, if I had one director, why not get the other co-director to come?
Well, then the bar is high, and I will try and live up to the standards that are my amazing wife, Chrissy.
So I had a couple months back, I had an interview for a writing job. And in the room, they asked me to make up a story on the spot.
Okay.
And I was sort of like, okay, well, what do you want? They're like, oh, just make something up. I was like,
just anything.
What are you looking for? Like, what do you want to? And so I finally got them to talk about a thing they had been working on, an issue like with time travel. It's about, oh, time travel. Great. I can do it. And I pitched them this whole story, and it was fantastic. And then afterwards, the feedback I got was, yeah, well, they didn't like that. I was like, oh, they didn't like the story? And they're like, no, they didn't like that you had to ask.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, huh, like you really just want to be the blue sky blank page this. Okay. So
even as a performer, this is
what I put to you as a trained improver. Like, do you prefer the blank slate, or do you like the prompt?
I like a prompt. I like to live inside of a box. When it's infinite possibility, then it's infinite possibility, right? But if you could say like, I want a time travel story, boom, I know where to go. Yeah. And I think that's true for, I once had a teacher tell me like, an improv scene is like infinite possibilities whittled down to what it is. So like, I kind of like to start with just some constraints. I always find that as a performer, I always do better when I'm given constraints, as is true for most artists, right? If you give them a blank check, they do something terrible. But if you give them constraints, it's like do something amazing and you have $12, and then they go to town. Yeah. So no, I do not like blue sky info. I don't need everything, but I do like a prompt. I do like a something. I'd like something to go off of. Otherwise, I'm just like, well, what's the right answer here? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you, when you can't see the horizon in any direction, how do you know which way you're moving?
Exactly.
So as someone who not only does a lot of improv, but also teaches a lot of improv, there's the thing. It's, to me, it looks like a magic trick. Like I watch it. I've seen even you and your group in multiple incarnations perform. And the moment when you are stays that you've created the world and you're trying to bring someone in, and when they get what you're doing, that's the part that is the magic trick to me that I cannot figure out how that works. And without, obviously without going into 10 years, 15 years of improv training, what is the trick that you have to do? What is the thing you have to teach someone of, like, how to and to go along with it, to like step into the world that you, the first person, has created, and not have it be a completely different.
I mean, it really, I think, without going into 10 years of training,
exactly.
I think that most of it's just listening and then repetition of conceptual ideas. I perform with Chrissy a lot. I know that when Chrissy walks out on stage and it's not Chrissy walking out on stage, that she has a great idea, and I'm going to go along with that idea. And for the most part, because I've known her for so long, that I can tell when and sometimes where she's going, because, some of us do share similar comedic ideas and styles. So sometimes you're just like, you put an offer on the table and somebody will grab that football and run a touchdown with it, because you're like, whoop, here's the idea. And then they're off and running. But I'll be honest, my most favorite moments are when I put the football on the table and then instead of running a touchdown, they spike it and kick a field goal. Because they're going a different way, and I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't even thinking about that. That's way better than the idea I had on the plate. To mix metaphors anyway.
I think that is the perfect place to mix metaphors.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, right, and sometimes it's so seamless because that agreement happens so fluidly that it looks like they were sharing my idea, but they weren't. It was a totally different thing. And I'm like, yes, that's better than what I was thinking anyway. I'm going to agree to what you just did, even though that's not even the same universe where I was going, but it's better because it's just better. So I think it looks like it's seamless because we just use that agreement concept, but mostly it's just like, oh, I wasn't even considering that. And you changed it up so fluidly and so fun that I was just like, yeah, let's do that instead. Let's keep going that direction.
What is your feeling on breaking then? Like, obviously, when someone throws at you a completely different way, like what you're doing up there obviously is intended to be comedy. Like, you run the neighborhood comedy theater.
Right.
But like, how do you stay in the world without actually like going, oh man, that was so freaking good? Like that.
Are you talking about like breaking on stage, like laughing?
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'm
when
okay
they've done
with
that,
a little bit of it.
Zigged.
Yeah.
Thought they were going to zag.
Well, like we always talk about like the performer, and then the character that they're puppeteering. So there are multiple times where I'm trying to stay in character, but the whole time I'm just going like, what? Wait, what? And the fun part about that is that in character, you can also use that information. So my character might just also be going like, wait, what? I'm okay with a little breaking because I appreciate when I'm watching something and I know that the performers are enjoying what they're doing and they're having fun with it. I love it. It's great. If you can tell the performers are like really just like enjoying each other and having a great time, you're along for that ride, right? You're leaning forward, you're paying attention because they're having so much fun. Sometimes I think that like people will use the breaking mechanic as a joke, or like, it's like dropping the F-bomb whenever you want because it's a crutch. But if you could tell that they're really like into it and somebody just said something so interesting or so unique or so funny that everybody stops for a minute. I love it. It's fine. Totally cool. Keep going.
As we're talking about make 'em ups, let's make something up.
Yeah, cool.
So let's get into things. So let's first thing I will do is I'm going to roll a 6-sided die to know what kind of format we're going to. So one of these is guest choice. So be ready.
Okay.
Which we did not get. We are making a movie.
Ooh, okay.
Hooray for Hollywood. We're making a film.
Excellent. I love film.
So then our first, we're gonna have 2 genres, and we can either pick which one, or we can try and do both at the same time.
Okay.
We'll see what they come up with. So we can roll the 17. That is a suspense. Right. So it's a suspenseful movie.
Okay.
And a crime caper. Oh, interesting. Suspense or crime caper. And that doesn't necessarily mean it can be funny.
Okay. Yeah. I love a good suspense crime caper that is also funny. Makes me think of like Seven or Usual Suspects is like a crime caper. But I also love a good montage. A good montage of who done it. So if I'm mixing that with suspense, I'm thinking about a movie where the suspense comes from the fact that there's an insider inside of the crime syndicate. Like it's a crime crew and they're planning a heist. It's a big important heist. They're gonna what are we heisting? We're heisting something we've never heisted before.
So I always like to do it's like whenever I think of that stuff, whatever it is, like the gem or the chip or whatever. I always like when it's valuable to a certain group,
right?
Or but something that you wouldn't think of as being a big deal, but for them is really good. So I kind of like that micro macro thing of to try and have something that's really weird, but is really valuable to a very specific collector or a very small group. It's the new pasteurization formula for milk or something. It's extremely valuable in a very, very limited set of circumstances. Or high stakes to get a baseball card, whatever.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Like something niche, like it's a Pokemon collectible. The most important Pokemon collectible. Is there a D&D collectible? Is there a Dungeons and Dragons collectible?
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah, we'd make something up of it was like the handwritten notes of Gary Gygax or something. Like
there you go.
And during the 90s, I had an idea for a thriller of someone breaking in to steal M. Night Shyamalan's next movie, when he was the hot thing because this whole thing was about twists.
Right.
And so I had this idea. This once again, this is very 90s. It was the idea of rival film gossip websites, and both of them are trying to break into this place to get to the script first to break, to be the first ones to read it. Which obviously is I guess we actually might be far enough from that it's now a nostalgic thing that it actually could work. But
going back to M Night, okay,
it's maybe not M Night, but we would make up whatever.
I was a big fan. I was a big fan of the. Do you remember the? Shoot, I'm blanking. There was a website. It was an early internet website called Drew's Scriptorama.
Yes.
Do you remember this site?
I do. I've been there. Yeah.
All the time I used to go. So I am envisioning, I'm envisioning a bunch of film students who are attempting to steal version 1 of George Lucas's Star Wars. Star Wars, the Book of Wills. Is that right?
Oh,
Am I saying it right?
Yeah. WHILOS. Wills. Yeah. The problem with first of all, Star Wars.
Oh, right.
But to make it early, because there was a movie called Fanboys that did something similar.
You're right.
They were trying to break in to see episode 1 before anyone else because one of their friends was dying. It was a good movie.
Yes.
But it's I feel like they kind of got that covered. But
they did.
But making something up of our, making up a film universe, a Star Trek, a Star Wars, having it our own fake thing and having it be that this is the original notes from it's like the Gene Roddenberry type who has died.
Okay.
And they have now whatever the original thing was before it became the super mega blockbuster kind of thing. So you can have, I love the idea of film students. I love the idea of like just incredibly nerdy, non-athletic.
Yeah, it's a group of film students
in their own heads, and they're trying to pull off this thing that they are well unequipped to do.
They're
and there's
nerdy,
a corporation trying to stop them,
and they're athletic, but they're also really good at figuring stuff out, right? Because on a low budget, you got to learn how to like pull a dolly shot off with a hand cart and a camera, and hide all of the sound equipment, and it would give them some like there's a van involved now. Because they got to put all their equipment. All right. So
all the rented equipment. Oh yeah. Even taking the rented equipment they had and then using that in their heist stuff.
There's a film museum that has there's a film museum that has like an old film camera that's on display, and the students want to steal it. I'm trying to. I get a little bit lost in here because I don't know details enough. But like, there's an old DSLR camera,
right? Yeah, so all that stuff. That's Wikipedia stuff that we can just fill later. You know, it's just like
we'll fill it in later.
Exactly. It's it's Formula X. You know, it's whatever it is. It's,
right.
know.
So a group of film students that they've decided that they are going to break into this museum. And they're going to steal this camera to shoot on because one of the film students is like, this is the only way. Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's film. Maybe it's a film camera.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because nobody shoots on film anymore.
Right.
Everything is on video. So this group of film students want to be purists and they want to go shoot on 16 millimeter.
You think they discover like they stumble across something?
Maybe they come across an old Kevin Smith movie or an old Tarantino film or like an old film, and they're all just blown away conceptually at what the concept of like shooting on 16 millimeters. So they want to be purists, but there's no more 16 millimeter cameras except for at the film stock museum, the Kodak Museum.
Okay. Okay. I'm starting to now form the ideas of a villain in this. So, do you know the story of Bill Finger?
No.
Okay, so very, very, very short geek digression. So, for the longest time, Bob Kane was credited as the creator of Batman. Like he was because not only he did write a lot of the stuff, but if you read the original first version of Batman, he's very much not the same kind of character. But he got another writer, but Bob Kane was an artist. He got a writer named Bill Finger to come in and actually flush it out. And that's where almost all the major origin points that we know and love of Batman came from, of like the orphan and the tragic backstory and the crusade against crime and a lot of the villains and stuff too. But Bob Kane had better lawyers. So he basically signed all the stuff as him and made it so he was known as the sole creator of Batman. And
so he took Batman from the other guy.
Yes, he basically had the guy do all this work for years and then cut him out entirely. And so now history, like there's if you watch the current Batman movies, Bill Finger's name is now mentioned. That a big thing that came through of sort of giving credit where it was due. Not financially, of course, because the corporations are not going to give any of that away, but credit.
Just emotional credit.
so what if we have our main person as sort of a dark George Lucas, like a really powerful filmmaker, and then the plot is set in motion because of like his former cinematographer dies, and all the stuff gets donated to the film museum of some kind.
Right.
And one of our film students is such a nerd that he knows exactly who that person was. And he's like, I bet you there's some good stuff in there that they just don't even know about. And in the process finds a film canister that shows that this guy or someone else was the co-creator of whatever this gigantic fictional sci-fi universe was.
Oh, we always attribute it to the George Lucas of this world, but it wasn't him at all. Dark George. We're calling him Dark George.
Sure.
Everything is attributed to Dark George.
Yeah.
But
it turns out,
there
was even it would be just because it's a male dominated thing. It could even have been his collaborator, ex-wife, but like basically and so the whole boys club basically pushed her out of all this entirely. But now there's actual film proof that shows that maybe they recorded a section of it, or they shot like a 60 millimeter.
Oh my God, this is starting to feel like what was that? What was that movie with Nicolas Cage, where they found a snuff film? 8 millimeter. This is feeling like 8 millimeter-y, but super nerdy. 8 millimeter.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the thing that's going to make it fun, is to have it that nerdy. Is that like 90% of the most people are not going to care at all. Like because it's just the person's dead. Like all they want is them to get credit. But for these guys, this group of films, I understand guys, but like this group of film students, are like, this is an epic quest for vindication for years of fan theories, and also credit where it's due for a person who. We've
got an amazing scene after. I guess I'm trying to still figure out like what drove them in to go find this canister. So they go in. Yes. The MacGuffin is them getting a 16 millimeter camera. Or 16 millimeter, 17. What do I say?
I mean, it could be 8 millimeter was the
8 millimeter, right?
Once the 16, and then up to 35.
But as they are rushing out, because they security is catching them, they accidentally grab this one canister of film that has just been sitting in a box, and they go back and they're setting up the camera. They're in their basement. They put it on, and all of a sudden they find out that they watch this, like, oh my God, it's blank movie by Dark George.
Right.
And they're like, holy crap. Yeah. The original. And they put it on, and the whole thing shows us that it was never Dark George at all. It was his first AD. Yeah.
Like, was the real collaborator that actually came up with all of this stuff. Okay. So you're thinking maybe
the psychological part is like, what do we do with this information?
Right.
What happens now?
So you're thinking maybe this place is being shut down because no one goes to the museum. It's being shut down, and everyone's going to pull. So they sneak in to sort of take the stuff.
Right. So it's going to get thrown away. They're like, we can't let this 8 millimeter, the 60 millimeter cameras.
They go for the camera, but they end up taking more stuff than that, and then find something they never anticipated finding.
Right. So that sends them off on a different course.
Right. Then we can have the sort of go to even these nerdy people going to an even nerdier person to be like, you don't know what you have here.
You don't even know the truth of it. No dark blank director directs on their own.
And then we have like our lawyers, or like their enforcers are coming to stop this, but they have to keep it out from the press. They can't let them know. So they can't cease and desist, because then that acknowledges that it exists and that it becomes evidence. So you have that. So they can't use the police against them, essentially. So you have it's a literal chase of them trying to do. But it's not like the cops and the feds are coming after them, because
it's nerds and more nerds.
Yes,
it's nerds and more nerds, right?
Or just like a Jason Statham type who's just like, I don't care about any of this. Like, I have a job to do. I'm just
right.
Listen, I just want that back. I don't care what's
on. Give me the canister. Right. All you need is I don't give a shit about you or any of your nerds. Right. I'd rather be doing something else, but just give me the nerd film back.
Right. So we have that guy. It's just like he's just a regular guy going about it in this incredibly heightened world. And at some point they have to go to a convention, right?
Of course. Well, that's, I think that the convention is where they're going to try and
show
the information out, show it, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't put a 16 millimeter film stock on the internet.
Yeah.
In fact, you can barely show 60 millimeter film stock anywhere. There's no players. I have VHS tapes, but I don't have a VHS player anymore.
Right.
So I can't show this to anybody.
Yeah, I've got a box full of VHS tapes.
How did they show it?
Never made it to DVD, even much less streaming. But then they have that. So, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so at some point, then I feel like the middle of the movie is it does get taken back.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like there's a chase thing, and then they do it, and then that's when our sort of proper heist will happen. Of them having to go in to get the thing actually back.
They've got to use all their film knowledge.
Yes.
And their film skills to try and get it back. And that could be like a very like
or it could be like at a studio, like at a movie studio, like they have to pretend to be
like they got to pretend to be a film crew.
Yes.
A real film crew.
Right.
I love it. I love the concept.
and having to like sort of pretend to all the things that they have all been dreaming about, they have to then pretend to be
right.
And be as, as insidery and use many terms as they can and pretentious, to be like, you're interrupting my all that to try and like that. So that's the like to get in to get this thing back before it gets sent to a vault or destroyed.
Right. So that's our montage.
Yeah,
that's our montage. That's our film.
In the middle, and they get it back, but then they're still coming after them. So then the third act is then I feel like they're trying to show it, like like we were talking about. Like that's at the convention having to do that. That's the sort of the last heist in Ocean's 11 kind of thing of all the moving parts. Because they have to tell everyone and what it's going to be to make it a big deal and to have that hour at their 2 hours at a major convention.
Right.
So that means all the bad guys know exactly where they're going to be, exactly when. So it has to become this whole process of all these moving parts.
I also kind of like conceptually want to have a part where, the only place that is going to have a 16 millimeter camera reel is an indie film house in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
So we've got to create some way in which we get the right people to end up at the majestic cinemas of downtown El Paso.
Yeah, it's got to be way out in the middle of nowhere, like showing really pretentious art films to no one,
because they're the only place with a 16 millimeter camera.
Yeah,
or they've got to steal it from there and take it somewhere else.
Yeah, and you have like an old like a person sort of like who used to be in the industry, and then now they're just like a film preservationist, even though no one is coming to see any of their stuff. And so that's a great place for a really weird character actor kind of like this is where you get Nicolas Cage for one day
as the projectionist.
Yes, like the person who's the owner and operator and sole audience of this theater.
Right.
Can help them transfer the film stock to a digital format so they can show it on something.
Right. Now
not wreck it.
And not wreck it. Yeah. Keep it. It
has to be off the. Oh, this is so good. This is coming together so good. Because it has to be. I guess we could have it be that it has to be off the radar. Oh, this sounds like an Austin kind of story. Like they're in Texas. They're in.
Oh yeah. And this all goes down to South by Southwest.
South by Southwest. That's our thing. Rather than San Diego Comic-Con, it's South by Southwest.
Right. It goes down to South by Southwest. Yeah. That's so good.
On. So the El Paso thing is perfect for that because they can't use anybody in town because they're all industry connected. So they have to go way out to find.
I mean, if we're going full Texas, like it's the I don't know what town the Alamo is in, but I am sure it's got to have
San Antonio.
It's got to have a last stand at the San Antonio.
Oh, that's really good.
That's where they're.
It's a couple hours away from Austin. That's perfect.
That's where they're going to project. That's where they're going to project the film. And we got to get
a basement. We know that.
Yeah. So we got to get all the right people there. I love it. There's an really insider because we still need a suspense aspect of this.
Yes.
There's an insider inside of the film club though that is working for Dark George.
Yes.
I don't know how.
I think it's sort of, as opposed to like if we're using like the Disney thing of like, Disney or stuff, this isn't somebody like the Jason Statham type isn't being sent from the Walt Disney Corporation.
No,
he's being sent from Lucasfilm. Like
right.
A couple levels down. Like
right. Because they don't want Disney to know.
Right.
Right. So we might even have some like, I don't want to call it some like political intrigue or movement happening between Lucasfilm and Disney to make sure that Disney doesn't find out that it wasn't Dark George who made this movie. They want to keep that.
So I think one of the sort of not to get highfalutin or whatever too, one of the themes essentially could be the insider outsider thing. Like all these guys are outsiders, they want to be insiders, but they realize through this thing that if they do this, they're going to be blackballed.
Right.
Their dark night of the soul will be the moment where they have to go, if we do this, we're never going to be professional filmmakers.
We'll never be able to work in the industry.
We'll never be able to work in the industry. We'll always be on the outside. And maybe they have someone who is what they consider a sellout, who went to school with them, who is now working in there.
Yeah, he sold out. He sold out.
They consider him an absolute sellout, or her an absolute sellout. That they went and work, and they're working in this, Dark George's group.
Yes, they're a franchise filmmaker.
Yeah, right. And they're just putting out what they consider schlock, like this mashed potato nonsense over and over again. But then that's now become their inside person, so they have to like recruit them to get inside.
Right, and that can be their Han Solo too, if we really think about it.
Yeah,
they come back at the end and possibly be the saving grace at the end because they got the keys, right?
Right.
So they come back and help. I mean, it would obviously be during the last stand at the Alamo.
Yeah.
They show up.
That could be. I think that would be. Oh, actually, if we do that, I think the Alamo thing would be really good to have as sort of our big Act 2 sort of thing, because they're going to fail because everyone at the Alamo died.
Everybody's the Alamo dies. Yeah.
So they have that. So that it happens, and then that's where it all sort of falls apart, where it gets taken from them.
Right.
And they have to go, or even maybe that's even an additive. Yeah, somewhere there. That's because that's where it all falls apart. And then they have to figure out how to get themselves back together.
Yeah. We got three.
And so instead of we just, if we're going to keep piling on the metaphor stuff too, instead of having it be a Jason Statham type, just an Antonio Banderas type, because it's.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's someone of Hispanic origin that's coming in, or it's a Salma Hayek like coming in.
My
They're
God.
at the Alamo of like, it doesn't necessarily work. Usually go well for
right. Oh my God. I feel like I feel like this has to be like really well written.
Sure.
Like I'm thinking like what was his name? Kevin Anderson?
Okay.
Is that what I'm thinking of? Scream?
Oh,
Williams.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's got to be like quirky, poppy, real pithy, pop culture referencey dialogue.
Sort of a Bottle Rocket, I was thinking like that. Yeah, that sort of and that sort of, so that the whole thing has to have that kind of indie spirit. And they can even, if you're good enough filmmaker, it all looks sort of like rough and handheld with them. And then whenever you go to the corporate thing, it's all steady cam.
Oh, what a fun!
lit.
Yeah, what a fun transition that would look like, right? Yeah. You could even like Kevin Williamson's stash / almost Kevin Smith. Like if we could meld those two people together,
right?
And then
some early Coen brothers sort of feel like that sort of.
And then let J.J. Abrams direct all the dialogue at the corporate end.
let's get Damon Lindelof to do a pass at this. Why not? Sure.
To really take a juxtaposition between the rough and tumble film students versus what they're dealing with inside the industry, inside of the corporate, the corporate side of things. And it might be a fun transition with our Han Solo type character when he walks out. And we could almost have like a whole genre shift as his universe is broken and he steps back into the real world, if you will, the indie world, that it would change. Like all of a sudden the camera would pan around or swivel around and he's no longer in his beautiful camera flare universe. He's now back in the indie handheld world.
Yeah, and you can have it switch from the sort of Aaron Sorkin polished dialogue, and then when they goes back home or whatever, goes back to San Antonio or whatever, it's mumblecore.
I was just thinking that. Yeah,
so they're all I mean, sure, I guess.
Yeah, I love it.
But everyone, like Hollywood has that like like rat-a-tat-tat. All right, so let's talk about our group then. Let's talk about our filmmakers, our independent spirit, future award winners. So are you thinking they are literally film students, like they're in college, or you think they're like they've graduated, but now they're just sort of raising money? They're like, shaking down dentists to get money to make their own little things, or do you see them like literally as students?
Feel like these are kids that have just recently graduated, right? Okay. So they are no longer bright-eyed and excited because they're now, but they're not so far disconnected from college that they're not still staying in touch. Maybe they're like hustling to get their film jobs going. They have their one friend who ended up in industry, so that's kind of their North Star actually, and also sell out. He's that guy that they are both jealous of and looking towards as you know what I mean, like he made it, but also fuck him for making it. Right.
It's that push pull. Like that. I like the fact we even have it be that person. It could be an ex. Like I was thinking that would be interesting to have it that was like ex-girlfriend.
She made it.
Like she's executive vice president, and they're like, "Oh wow, executive vice president!" And then they feel it. She's like, "Yeah, there's 35 executive vice presidents." Like it's just like it means absolutely nothing. She's like, "I have an office. I don't know what I was supposed to do."
Right, and her point of view is constantly our Han Solo character is constantly like, "You guys, it's not as great as you think it is." But they are
super
all
competitive, cutthroat.
Right. Yeah.
Also, nobody knows what they're doing.
Right. She's not happy.
Yeah.
But also she feels outsidered by the rest of the crew.
Yes.
So they're all working like regular jobs, but they're still close enough to ex-college students that they're staying in touch and still trying to grind for it, right? They're still trying to make it happen. So they still have ambition, but they've also been kind of dragged down by the world. But I also feel like there's one like 40-year-old dude.
Okay.
There's just one older guy, or he could be a girl too, who just keeps hanging out with them. They need one weirdo, like whatever the stoner version of the 2024s is. Yeah. Where they're just like, he works, he does gigs.
Oh, he's like the last video store owner.
Yes.
He still has like the thing. It just every time they go in, there's no one there.
Yes. He still owns a video store. He still actually owns a video store.
And in 2024.
Yeah. And so he might have some of he would be someone that they would go to to look for the equipment that they're looking to show this 16 millimeter film or how to do it. Like it's his basement where they could actually watch this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because he still has all of like a bunch of this equipment, but then obviously then he doesn't have everything just because he has he still has to pay rent on this thing, so he only has so much stuff, and that's how he made. Then maybe he's the connection out to the weirdo out in
right
out in the middle of nowhere, the independent theater owner too. So we get to see the difference of like the video store clerk. So like, this is like literally like a clerk. Like he's still like this is what he always wanted to do, even though that job doesn't exist anymore. He's still like, no, it'll come back.
It'll come back. Video stores will come back.
People will come back. They're gonna get tired of just watching anything, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. So he's got the connection to all of the outdated technological jobs, right? So you mentioned the he knows the projectionist.
Yeah. Because he might know a little bit more. He might also be their sort of their oracle of knowing, like, you don't know what you have here.
Yeah. He's their conspiracy theory guy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
right.
you don't know what you have.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that this is how the industry works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I like that we think of him like when we meet him, he's the fringe guy, and then we meet somebody really on the fringe. You go, oh wow. Like it's sort of like, I don't even like when they went to color. Like was where that's where the real stuff was. The talkies? Are you kidding me? That's when cinema was ruined, when they started talking in it.
Yeah. Oh man, this could be a real fun romp through like the artsy cinema indie world. A loving thing, to not be against anybody, to capture that spirit of let's go make a movie. Let's go, pile in all of our stuff in the back of a car and go shoot something.
Right. Because they could go on a bunch of different. We could.
I think we start out with them making something. Like maybe it starts out and it turns out that it's actually like somebody got a commercial or whatever, and so it's like, well, it's not a movie, but it's still shooting with camera. It's still actors. It's like, yeah, but it's a car commercial. Like, come on,
right.
Even like something even shadier, like medical insurance or so cash for clunkers kind of thing of like debt collectors, whatever. It's something like, oh yeah, it's like it's not even like
and that's our
advertising.
That's our like our way to like we're getting the band back together kind of opportunity there, because somebody gets the commercial, they got to call their friend who's the cinematographer, they got to call their light guy. Yeah. They got to call their sound person. They got to get their gaffer. They got to get the band back together, even though none of them are doing film anymore because they all had to go get real jobs except for Lady Han Solo.
So they're like a year out from the graduated. They all have film degrees.
Right.
Various things.
Yeah.
They're a year out and nobody is working on it. I mean, you can even start out with them on graduation day, like, we're going to take Hollywood by storm. And then you cut to a year later.
Cut to 12 months here. Yes.
Right, they're just doing the job. They're just working. They're just
somebody's
doing
at
whatever
Starbucks. Somebody's working. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe
it's like everything that they want just a little bit. It's like it's something similar to what they wanted. So it's like designing like lighting for a new corporate office. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, it's still lighting technically, but it's not exactly what I wanted. So everyone is just a little bit adjacent to what they wanted to be.
Yeah. And maybe what drives them to bring the band back together is one of the film crew students is working at a car dealership. And they find, the owner of the car dealership finds out that so-and-so went to film school.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And forces him to make a commercial.
Yeah. Oh, even if you could have something, one of their jobs, like maybe I was thinking, that's why I was thinking maybe one of them is an actor, and actually what he's doing now is serving summonses, like he's or he's working, that kind of thing of like you have to pretend to get in to handle the thing.
Right, because the film students are going to have to brush against the actors at some point, right?
Yeah,
They're going to have to bring in the actors at some point. And my guess is that they bring in the actors when they break into the studio to get the film canister back after it's been stolen from them the first time.
Yeah.
They got to get it back. Well, they're film students. They're not actors.
Right.
And they're like, we got to call Steve. What?
And yeah, you see
We're
him
not
doing
calling Steve.
and then you like cut to him like on the stage performing,
right.
you know, whatever Lear, and it's at a retirement community.
Yes, and they're like,
the audience is asleep, and
they're like, I can't act. I'm a cinematographer. Call Steve.
That's right. Yeah, because he was in all of their independent films, like all their short films that they did in college. Super pretentious.
Yeah,
you know,
but the same is true for him.
Yeah, but exactly. As they say, it did not go his way, and his the same thing. And maybe he's like sort of the middle. Like he's like they're in their 20s, he's in his 30s, and then we have our store clerk is in his 40s.
Right,
so
right.
Various stages of accepting that things are not going to go their way.
I mean, we got a secondary montage here where Steve, the actor, has to teach the film students how to use the Meisner technique so that they can then get into, so that they can then break into the studio as actors themselves, portraying film crew.
Yes. He has to teach that. Oh, so yeah, there's gonna be a great montage. Yeah, I can see like a whole thing of them setting up in a studio and him trying to like have he has a beret on and trying to like teach them sense memory and
ew. And
maybe Meisner technique is not going to work for you guys. Maybe we need to try something else. Him trying to teach them. Also have somebody, if an improv person come in, you could
we could do that too.
Nice bad improv in there.
Bad improv. I was recently watching a show with my daughter, and in the show they were they were making fun of improvisers, which is common and deservedly so most of the time. But she was like, "Dad, doesn't it upset you that they make fun of improvisers so often?" And I'm like, "No. All the writers are improvisers. That's why they're doing it." You know, so.
That's true. The same people on there are like, are at UCB on Saturday nights.
Yeah, I'm like, this is cathartic for them because they're making fun of themselves as writers.
And if it's funny, you know that it's actually something that they have seen or done.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
listening to improvers talk about when someone like destroys the game is always fun to me too. Yeah, hearing them. So to have somebody you can have that it's a way to show that off in this too, to have it somebody like a really bad teacher.
I've made an audible here. Steve is an improviser. Okay. We cut to him at an improv theater doing an improv show, and that's how he trains these people. You know, yes and.
Yo, that would be great too all the time. Of when someone comes up and goes, "I'm sorry, what you're working on this movie?" Yes. And I'm also the head of production for, just always like, oh, no. It's like going, no, way too big. Like, bring it down.
Turn it down. I'm trying to think of, though, our lady Han Solo. She works for Dark George.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what her connection is to the group. How do we get her to betray them and then come back and save them?
Well, it could be that she's the reason that it gets taken
in the first place.
Yeah, like it was. Yeah. It was. They find out what they have there. It gets the. I was trying to think some kind of thing of like one of them is working like the serving summons. Then someone dies and they have to go and find their stuff, and that's when they maybe instead of doing the museum, like they find it by
that could be
sale, like that kind of thing. Or like they went to go collect a debt. The person was dead, and it's at an estate sale. And so they're like, "Hey, there's a bunch of film stuff."
Ooh, I like that.
And the kid, the grandkid, whoever who's in charge of this, has no idea what any of this stuff was. Oh yeah, he used to at one point he worked in Hollywood, whatever. And so
great,
takes the beat.
Yeah. So
then
one of the makers. Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh my god, that's a camera. That's film stock."
Yeah, and then like after these, then our Salma Hayek type or whatever, shows up to like, oh yeah, I'd like to buy all that stuff. Like, oh yeah, you just missed them. So then you have them already like there's someone else out there. So
what a great scene! What a great scene that we could have. That's at Dark George Lucas at Lucasfilm, and it's like, Mr. Lucas, so and so has died.
Yeah.
What? What do you mean so and so has died? Yes, they've died. They died this year. What? Get down there and buy everything that they have. You know,
everything. Like what?
Everything. Buy it all. Buy everything.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you have that, and so they just got in before, and so they took whatever the thing is too. So then, when it comes down, then maybe that we move to the to sort of make the deal, or there's things up at the Alamo, that she's the one. Like they figure out the connection. They like the Salma figures out the connection, right? Of like these guys back to like, oh, there's someone at our organization who actually came from that town or graduated from that school, like,
right?
And then it looks to them like she betrayed them,
right? Oh, yeah.
Because that's when they take it back of like, you can have the rest of that, all that nonsense. All we want is that, and so then it becomes like, how could you do this to us?
Right. Love it.
And then to get it back, then that's when they have to like work with her to get them into the studio in order to pull off the heist on the sound stages.
I'm also envisioning a scene of like Dark George just like rummaging through some dead person's stuff.
Where is it?
Where is it? Where's the canister of film?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, so there was like the one thing that he always held over, like
Rosebud.
They both knew, it's that Stanley Ditko thing of like, I always have that. Like you can't take that from me. I always
right.
So he always knew it was out there, and then it was a card he never played, and now he wants to get it. And that's really good. Okay, I really like that. I really like that a lot. Okay, so you have film students there. We have them finding the thing, going out. Confrontation at the Alamo, lose it, going to the movie studio to have to pretend to be a film crew, get trained to do a film crew. That's our montage of all that stuff.
Yep.
Sneaking in, getting it back, going out to the desert to meet a real weirdo, who's going to help them transfer it over. And so they have the file. And then South by Southwest, they're going to be showing something. They have this thing scheduled, and they're
going to release it to the world.
A whole elaborate, like, sort of like a heist thing of distraction. They have to maneuver themselves around because they like having the announcement of we're going to be showing a lost film from this person,
Dark George. Yeah,
exactly. It puts like a time and place, and so Dark George is there, and all the people are there, like all of them are there, and they have to do all this stuff to maneuver themselves around, so that then everybody comes to South by Southwest, like everyone who we've met in the movie. Our solo type and our weird film guy and our video store clerk, they're all there and they're all helping this thing. And so I guess then how does it end?
I think we've got them all there. It might be, I'll start with the most stereotypical ending that we can think of is that they run the film, but what's more important is that they need to get Dark George on film himself. Admitting it. Yeah. But they record him. They record him doing it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how like the old technology's got to save them.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, so okay. That's good. I was thinking if they can like get him on, like, so Dark George, he's going to offer them a chance to do the dark side. He's like, I can set you up. He's going to make the offer. I can set you up. I can give you a job. I can get you.
I'll let you make
whatever
money you want. I'll let you make the movie you want to make.
Yes. Yeah. It's like all stuff. I'll own it, but you'll be able to make the movie you want. And then after a couple of years, you'll be able to do your own thing. But you start out as working for. And they make the offer, and then they get him talking about the thing, and they're recording all of this, of course, because the film students. Right. Him like talking about what he had done and how, of course, I always do. I don't know why he never tried to share credit with me. It was always his idea, and I took all, and then while they're doing, then they say they say no, basically, but then they take that footage and they recut it so it looks like a talking head, and it's the intro to the movie that they show.
Yes, I think that would be a fun. It would be a fun like breakdown somehow. Is that they record it like on their phones,
yes,
or something like that. But someone is also secretly recording on an 8-track or a 16 millimeter, an 8 millimeter, and I don't know what the mechanic is yet. But Dark George is able to do like an EMP pulse that destroys. It destroys the digital file.
Yes.
But the analog file lives on. The analog file stays because it's not digital.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it that they come in to start up the thing, and there's with like a bulk magnetizer. There's Salma. Bulk magnetizer going, oh, sorry, all the hard drives got wiped clean. And then that's when our weird film guy goes, I ran it off on 35 millimeters. It's the whole time movie. Then he literally strings the film in, and then like actually runs it off. It's really good. And your old technology saves them. Oh, I love that so much.
Saves them, and Dark George goes down.
Yes, they have it. Basically, I think that they accept their fate. They basically like, okay, we're indie filmmakers. We're going to be indie forever. Like, we're never going to make that kind of stuff. But then maybe the little like the epilogue thing is J.J. Abrams going, what do you think about making a movie of this story? Like,
well, that's the funny part, right? It's the making of, right?
Right. Right. So like, what we just watched was the movie of the. Like, just
that's how it ends. That's the epilogue. Right. They're in there shooting this version of that, which is definitely an ode to Kevin Smith and everything weird he does, which is normally an ode to Kevin Smith making Kevin Smith movies.
Right. Yeah. Or Rob Rodriguez making Rob Rodriguez movies. That. And that's that spirit. I mean, like, that's that indie spirit. Like, that's the thing. So, okay. That is really, really good. I really love this already. Okay. So now, well, I guess, do you have any thoughts on who you would like to see? These people, like, we're throwing names around. But I'm
gonna acknowledge my age a little bit and recognize that the older I get, the less in touch I am with the younger actors out there.
Yeah, I find that too. I'm like, I would want a young, insert actor in here, because like I don't know who. If it's not Timothée Chalamet or Tom Holland, I don't know any young actors.
I don't know a lot of them, and so I would acknowledge that. Let me start with my 40-year-olds, and obviously this is an ode to indie film actors, right?
Sure.
So I want Jason Mewes. Yes. Jason Mewes to play the I mean, he's not 40 anymore, he's like in his 50s, but like I'm gonna want to insert a bunch of indie filmmakers.
That's really good
into this conceptually.
Oh, can you imagine Owen Wilson as our Dark George?
Wow,
that affable type. That, like, everyone loves him, but
he's a monster.
He's a monster inside. Yeah. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Well, he's like, or Dark Stan Lee. That sort of thing. Affable type that everyone really likes, but has this secret dark side that no one really knows about.
Right.
How he crushes his competitors.
Right. Yeah.
There's that indie spirit too. That's what I was thinking too. Like having.
I'm gonna have a much better job, casting the older people in this than the actual youngers. Owen Wilson would be great, and also, I mean, if Owen Wilson is in it, Luke Wilson should probably be in there somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know what part specifically.
Go through that whole period of somebody who was in Reservoir Dogs, somebody who was in, like all of these. Yeah, somebody who was in Slacker, somebody who was in Dazed and Confused, somebody, these.
I mean, if we're gonna ode to it, like maybe Maya Hawke could play. Because Ethan Hawke is. Ethan Hawke is in Slackers, right? Am I wrong? Am I right? I don't know. Anyway, he comes from that genre, so from that time period. So maybe Maya Hawke can play. She's old enough to play the Han Solo lady who's made it. Maybe not.
Maybe. Yeah, that's not bad. because she already has that Stranger Things timeless thing of like playing someone from the 80s, and it makes you sort of
right.
Okay, all right. So then we come to probably what is the most difficult question. What is the title of this amazing ode to independent film?
Oh my God. What is the title?
The first one that comes to mind, that we can start from, like we can try and beat it.
Okay.
Is Indie Spirit.
Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, like there is literally an Independent Spirit Award, so I feel like it's kind of almost encroaching on their thing, but that also is a feeling. The Indie Spirit.
Or just something simple like independent film.
Yeah, it's that, and it kind of gets to a little bit more pretentious.
Yeah,
because we want to have it still be that. Because this is a fun.
And it's a heist.
And it's you're right. Yeah,
indie
exactly.
heist.
Stolen Shot.
Yeah. Oh,
that's not bad.
Oh, that's not bad.
Term.
Yeah.
Credit Where It's Due. That seems a little bit more like that sounds like a British drama.
I don't know why you said Credit Where It's Due, and it made me think of like a baby being delivered. I don't know why.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Developing the plot. Development, like something.
Development Hell. There's got to be a movie called Development Hell.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Isn't that what they call it when your movie goes into turnaround?
Yeah.
Development Hell. Development Hell.
Development Hell seems like a really good name for an indie horror movie.
Yeah.
Someone who like. That's like all of a sudden I'm thinking about like an independent filmmaker who ends up making snuff films. That's Development Hell. It doesn't actually. It leads a different direction.
That's very funny.
You never escape.
Yeah.
From Development Hell. Oh, sorry. I'm already a new episode.
I don't know.
Let's just start the show again, and now we're going to develop Development Hell.
Yeah. I feel like we could workshop this for hours.
I guess. I mean, Indie Spirit. I think still
Indie Spirit seems like it's on the top. What would they say? What was the terminology that they would say when a canister was empty? There was a word for it. Changing the tape, or
reels, there's changing reels.
I don't know.
Real life, REEL. Oh.
I think Indie Spirit is probably where I would start. I'd land there. And then we can let it get workshopped around a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, well, that's what it is. All right. Okay. But yeah, I think there we go. So we have our not independent film about independent film.
Yeah.
Indie Spirit, our heist. So, all right. So then if you like what we've done here, then good news, audience, our gentle listeners, it's now yours.
It is for the universe.
Releasing this idea out into the world. It is free. You can do whatever you want with it. Creative Commons attribution on the idea of Indie Spirit. You can take it, you can write it, you can make your own movie of it, you can do whatever you want with it. All we ask is that you link it back to us so that we get to see what you have done with it.
And send me an invitation to the opening night. That's all I want.
We would like some, you didn't have to put us in the front row because that's always the worst seats, but fifth row would be fine. That's we can see a little bit. And at one point we'll just stand up and wave.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I want. But I knew we'd have a good time. And we come up with something amazing. This has been fantastic. So if you are in the Mesa, Arizona, come visit the Neighborhood Comedy Theater. The website is
nctphoenix.com. That's N like neighborhood, C like comedy, T like theater, Phoenix, all spelled out.
Yeah. And they do amazing improv stuff there. I've seen it many times. And it's always new.
Yeah. Every weekend, always new, always interesting, always independent.
Well, the stories won't write themselves, so back into the world we must go. Thank you for stopping by. If you're in this part of the world again, there will always be a place for you here at the Storywell. Now, go tell your story. I get the idea, but putting this many popular search terms in one ad is... No, I'll do it. This is Kyle from TrueStory.fm, and I'm here to encourage you to become a supporter of our shows. You'll marvel at what a great deal it is from here to DC. If it's your election to pay just $5 a fortnight, you can get early access to ad-free episodes plus bonus content made just for members. Why, that's less than an espresso. You'll be a star. Wars have been fought over less amazing treasure. You look nice. Did you get a new tailor? Swiftly head over to truestory.fm/join to find out how you can become a member. It's a great place to be, your own personal pink pony club. Well, it's time for me to say goodbye when I'd rather say hello, kitty. Is that what you wanted?